Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first ever screening by our inaugural Teen Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Board from the Magical Bridge Foundation. I'm Vivian Tisi, and I'm a speech language pathologist.
And I'm April Chavez. I'm an educator in the Bay Area. We have spent the last 6 months facilitating the Teen DEI board in their growth and learning through diversity, equity, and inclusion. With a generous and forward-thinking emerging needs grant from the Palo Alto Human Relations Commission, the Magical Bridge Foundation piloted the Teen Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, or DEI board, as a special initiative with invited kindness ambassadors.
The inaugural cohort of teenagers from Palo Alto includes members with diverse abilities and disabilities. They were charged with choosing a topic to focus on in order to educate and advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion for people with disabilities within our community. This project is a one-of-a-kind program aimed to provide a space for teenagers with different needs and abilities to be supported while contributing to their community needs for inclusion.
You'll be hearing voices of local teens eager to help make it a more kind, accepting, and inclusive world, which starts with our own Palo Alto community. During a time when kindness is more magical than ever, we invite you to enjoy their presentations and join our collective hope for a more inclusive Palo Alto. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jill Asher. I'm the Executive Director and co-founder of Magical Bridge Foundation and Playgrounds. Very first, I'd like to just call out some of the community leaders who are joining us today. And it's no specific order, but I just wanted to recognize some of the leaders that are here today. We have Stephen Lee, who's one of the Human Relations Commissioners for Palo Alto. Joyce Reynolds Sinclair, she is part of the Magical Bridge Foundation board, as well as Leland Levy from our board. We do have Kristen O'Kane from the city of Palo Alto. She's a director here in the city of Palo Alto and a good friend to our project. Chris Beth, who is the director of the Redwood City Park Recreation and Community Services. So our friends in Redwood City. More to come on that. We'll be opening that soon. Jennifer DeBrienza from the Palo Alto Unified School District Board, Patty Rieger from the Palo Alto Human Relations Commission, Steve Filios, I hope I pronounced that right, from the Mountain View Park and Recreation Commission, our neighbors and good friends as well, Valerie Stinger from the Palo Alto Human Relations Commission, Dr. Holly Wade, she's one of our Magical Bridge Foundation board members, Shanuk Darp, who's from the Palo Alto Unified School District Board, our superintendent of Palo Alto Unified School District, Don Austin. Welcome, City Council member Greg Tanaka from Palo Alto Unified School District School Board member Melissa Caswell, and Pamela Estes from the Redwood City Park and Arts Foundation. I do believe there are some other city leaders, and if I did not call your name, you can certainly leave a message in the chat section and we will recognize you. So we were so incredibly grateful to receive a grant from the Palo Alto Human Relations Commissioners who provided us, Magical Bridge Foundation, needed funding for a new program that would empower our teens in Palo Alto of varying abilities to take a deep dive into making our community a little bit more inclusive and, dare I say, magical, especially in our schools and our community at large. A program like this in our community has never existed, and it was time to have all of our voices heard. With these funds, we were able to bring on experts and leaders to help create a pilot program in late January 2020. We selected the teens from our Kindness Ambassador program. We had commitments from their families that we would meet twice a month. And we actually began meeting at our office in downtown Palo Alto and on the playground. And then COVID-19 hit. And we all had a shelter in place, and we had to pivot because we could no longer do our programming, learning, and advocacy work on the playground, which for us is actually our classroom. Like any nimble Silicon Valley startup, we regrouped and we reimagined how we could keep our DEI program going and make a meaningful difference in our community. What these teens have created in this program is extraordinary, and I'm going to say magical. And when we return to school in the fall, and when these new leaders will go back to school, they will definitely be looking to us, the adults, the school members, city council members, our community at large. They are going to hold us, the adults, accountable to make sure that we make our community a lot more inclusive for our teens and for everyone in our community with varying abilities and disabilities. We know our playgrounds are a community hub for people of all abilities and disabilities. However, in this particular political and historical moment, Magical Bridge Foundation is called along with many other organizations, companies, and nonprofits to support and be part of the Black Lives Matter movement. While our mission has always been welcoming to all people, the foundation and our leadership team is called to recognize that we can and we need to do better when supporting the needs of our Black and Brown communities. And as the co-founder and executive director of Magical Bridge Playground and Foundation, here is what I can promise you. We are prioritizing finding playground projects that serve the Black and Brown communities. And we are also identifying urban projects that really do serve diverse communities. Wherever we go, our goal has always been to create welcoming and delightful spaces for every age, ability, and size. And we will continue to promote kindness and ignite intergenerational play in every community we touch. But I do want to be really clear, we can do better as a foundation. We need to have hard and uncomfortable conversations so that we are part of making our community and world more welcoming and inclusive for our Black and Brown visitors. And we are committed to do this. And of course, we welcome your community input, your support, your suggestions that you may have. We are very, very open to it, and we need to learn. Finally, please note that we will be answering all questions at the end of this presentation. And if you'd like to ask a question in the chat box, please do so at any time. And if you want to ask a question live and speak to our teens, you can raise your hand, and we, Deborah, will be having you ask those questions live at the end of the presentation. I'd also just like to give a big shout out to Vivian and April, who are leading this project. We're very lucky to have you here. And also to our team at Magical Bridge. It's not one person that makes this happen. Alenka Villarreal, you will see her on the call as well, our founder and CEO, Maria Hassett, who handles our operations and finance, and Peter Jensen, who is this most extraordinary designer and landscape architect that brings these playgrounds to life. And our entire executive board. There's a team behind this, and I'm so fortunate to be, and we are so fortunate to be surrounded by these extraordinary people. So without further ado, because you don't want to hear me speak, you want to hear the teens speak, I'm going to let the teens introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Anushka.
Hi, I'm Anushka Srinivasan, and I'm a rising junior at Castellea School.
Hi everyone, I'm Ava Gumis, and I will be a junior in the fall at St. Francis High School.
Hi, this is Ava Villarreal, and she'll be a rising senior in the Pali Futures program.
Hi, my name is Bowdoin Van Bremen. I am an incoming 12th grader at Gunn High School.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Tolomeo. I just finished my sophomore year at St. Francis, and I'll be completing my junior year next year at Los Altos High School.
Hi everyone, my name is Isabella Chang. I just graduated from Gunn High School and I will be attending UC Berkeley in the fall.
Hi everyone, I'm Isabella Kutianis and I'm an upcoming senior at Palo Alto High School.
Hi, I'm Joshua Barkin and I'm a rising senior at Gunn High School.
Hi, I'm Kelvin Jang and I'm a rising junior at Gunn High School as well.
Hi everybody, I'm Mimi. And I'm Morgan's mom. This is
Morgan.
Morgan, and what grade are you in?
10.
Just graduated from Palo Alto High School.
Hi everyone, I just graduated. My name is Nicole Smith. I just graduated from Gunn High School and I'll be attending the University of Washington in the fall.
Hi, I'm Shansi Lim, and I just graduated from Gunn High School, and I will be an incoming freshman at Foothill College.
Thank you for those introductions. We hope that the screening today will bring awareness of the need for more informed and intentional inclusion, diversity, and equity within our schools, within our neighborhood, within our city, and beyond. It takes just one moment of learning how to be kind, compassionate, and more inclusive to make steps towards a more equitable world. To start us off, here is a word from our first group, Baldwin Van Bremen and Kelvin Jang. Baldwin?
Many people don't truly understand what having a disability means. Kevin and I are students at Gunn High School in Palo Alto, California. We made an introductory video that defines key terms used to describe disabilities and provides ideas how all people can be included, treated equitably within the community. Before we get started, we have a few questions for you to think about. If someone isn't able to communicate back to you, would you still try to communicate with them or say hi to them? You always know if someone has a disability, even if you haven't interacted with them. If someone has a disability, do you think they aren't able to understand people's actions and words around them? Have you ever communicated and interacted with people that are different than yourself? Whose language isn't the same, whose way of thinking isn't the same, whose looks aren't the same, whose ideas aren't the same, whose ability aren't the same as yours. Just give it a try and you might be surprised. These questions are important to ponder about. Although simple, they are the first steps to equitability for all. Now that we've gotten you thinking, please enjoy our video.
Hey, we need your support. Billions of lives, so many, have been changed by COVID-19, but some are struggling more than others. We need to identify those who may need more support and help them in the best way possible. And that change starts with you. We're all different. Different strengths, different weaknesses. Some people have visible disabilities, some people have invisible disabilities. And all these differences make us special and unique. However, sometimes society isn't always aware of how to treat others with disabilities or others who are different from them. This is why my group and the other Junior Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, or DEI members from the Magical Bridge Foundation want to spread awareness on how people with different disabilities communicate, socialize, and learn. Before we move on, I think it's important to define visible and invisible disabilities. Visible disabilities can be seen without having to actually interact with someone. For example, being in a wheelchair constitutes a visible disability, so does having a broken bone. Some other examples may include paralysis, Down syndrome, and muscular dystrophy. On the other hand, invisible disabilities, as in its name, are invisible to the naked eye. These cannot be spotted visually. They may not be easy to discern, even if you're communicating with someone that has one of these conditions. Some examples of invisible disabilities include ADHD, dyslexia, autism, anxiety, and much more. Now, have you ever put yourself in the shoes of someone with one of these conditions? Well, maybe not, because a lot of disabilities, visible or invisible, are hard to come across. We want you to think about this, and we'll give you some ideas on things you can do with the disabled community during this time. But first, a little perspective.
Your disabilities don't define you. Your abilities do.
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 Hi, I am a 17-year-old male, and I was diagnosed as double handicapped when I was 3 years old. I don't feel handicapped. I am a person who is good at some things and not that good at other things. I draw a bell curve. I am at the right, middle, and left, depending on my ability. I am really good at following rules, medium at basketball, and not that good at eye contact and communication. So don't worry if I meet you and won't look at you and have difficulties communicating. Don't ignore me because of this. Just invite me to shoot some hoops with you. Please include me. I am medium at basketball and would love to shoot some hoops with you.
There are a lot of things that you can do with others during this time. We've put together a list of over 50 fun and inclusive ideas that you can do with anyone, including those with disabilities, and we'll share some of those with you here. First, you can try making a movie with someone. If it's with a friend, you can record separate clips from different places. However, if it's with your family members, it would be safe to do so in one household. Also, there are many things you can do over a call. You can learn a new skill together, have friendly competitions with food or art, and you can even read to each other. Even the simplest things can keep you entertained for hours. We'll have a full list linked so that you can take a look at it for yourself. Chances are, if you live long enough, you too will become part of the disabled community. It's not always preventable and you don't know when it may happen, but as a community, we need to start raising awareness for those with disabilities right now. I encourage you to think about a disability as a human trait. Gender and racial equality have taken a huge part in modern day society, and now we need to turn our attention to treating anyone with disabilities equitably. My peers have done their research and worked on their own projects that will go more in depth from this introduction. Their videos and blog posts will be linked as well. And with that, I hope you share this message, send it to your friends, your family, everyone around you, and I hope to see you helping out the community soon. Remember, your disabilities don't define you, your abilities do. Thank you for listening, and be sure to check out our list of ideas linked in the description.
That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you, Baldwin and Kelvin. Now for our second group, we have Shansi, Bella C, and Nicole.
I just wanted to say one really thing that was most touching that I heard about there that's been staying with me ever since I saw this first video is that your disabilities don't define you, your abilities define you. So I just thank you. That's been staying with me for quite a few days now. All right.
Thank you guys. So I'm Nicole, and our blog series discusses the socialization gap between disabled students and the rest of the student body. We're students at Gunn High School, so the blogs reflect our personal experiences from our time there. In the first post, Shansi describes her experience with the Best Buddies Club at Gunn. In a few minutes, we'll be watching a recorded video of her blog. It brings up some questions like, are students joining the club for the right reasons? Do they truly want to help cultivate a more inclusive high school? Or are they there for snacks or social status or even college resume building? Shansi discusses these questions and the importance of breaking down the barriers between disabled students and the rest of the high school. In the second blog post, I recount an interview with a Palo Alto High School student who is a member of the Disabled Students Program. His testimony about both social and academic experiences at Pali reveals areas in which PAUSD has found success and other areas where it has room to improve the high school experience for disabled students.
In the third blog post, I discuss a very current issue, how we can promote socialization during the shelter-in-place order. Already, social barriers between disabled students and other high schoolers hinder socialization. With sheltering in place and social distancing implemented, these barriers are even greater. I discuss modern strategies used by high schoolers and school administrators to encourage students of all abilities and interests to communicate with each other during these difficult times. Shansi, Nicole, and I hope that you take a moment to read these blog posts so that our community can tackle these issues together.
Every year when the fall club signups begin, A lot of students sign up for Best Buddies. When we have the first club meeting, everyone joins, even the ones that didn't sign up. But that's okay. Anyone can join as long as they sign in. Students come and go to the club throughout the year. Usually, at the beginning of the year, some of the students join the club for a few weeks or less, and after those weeks, the members of our club start to decline. I know each year, except freshman year, that in a few weeks or less, some of the students will not show up to the club anymore. Sometimes I wonder where they are. For example, I thought Heather would be here. Is she busy? Will she be back next week? Maybe she stopped showing up. Even though it's expected that every year everyone shows up but then declines in a few weeks or less, I still wonder why they aren't showing up. I think that some of the students join the club because we, students with differing abilities and disabilities, have snacks that are always provided in the club. I know that everyone likes snacks and treats, but I feel like they should also join us for the activities we do in the club. Even though we make snacks and treats as some of our activities, the club does not revolve around only snacks and making them. It makes me feel upset that they are there just for the snacks and not to join us for the actual club. Best Buddies is a popular club at our school. I feel like the students want to join the club because it will make them look cool and popular amongst friends who are in the club and those who aren't. Some of them just go on their phones and do not associate with us, or just talk amongst themselves. I feel like they are in the club just for the name of it. Only a minority of students come to the club and stay for the right reasons, and that's why our club is usually small at Gunn. Even though some are there for the snacks, they do stay but still aren't there for the right reasons or aren't active participants. But students that are there for the name don't stay for long and weren't there for the right reasons anyway. I think it's discouraging and I feel disappointed when students leave the club or not stay in the club for the right reasons. I thought it would be fun with them around and join us for activities. In the future, I hope that students will join the club for the right reasons, like connecting with others who are not in their friend groups / making new friends with us who are mostly hanging out within our futures / F2 community and willing to include us as friends in their group. Students who want to take part in the activities that we're doing and break the barriers between us and the rest of the gun community. I suggest in the future that Best Buddies would have projects that span multiple meetings so students feel responsible for committing to the project and attending consistently. Having incentives for people who come to a lot of meetings and / or have students share their ideas about what they would like to do in the club. In conclusion, I hope Best Buddies at Gunn will change and become better in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the reading of my blog. You can find our other blog posts on the Magical Bridge Foundation's website and linked in the chat box.
Thank you so much, Chauncey, Bella, and Nicole, for challenging us to see that the intent behind participating in inclusion programs. Up next are Anushka, Joshua, and Morgan.
Hi. Our group decided to focus on different forms of communication and created a video to help individuals understand how to support people who communicate differently. In the video, Morgan, a senior at Palo Alto High School, shares her struggles with clear communication, especially in public settings. She describes the forms of communication that work best for her, including visual and tactile models. Morgan also explains the impact of someone's attitude and demeanor, expressing that she feels significantly more comfortable around positive, kind, and patient communicators.
In the video, I describe the different ways people can be supportive and successful when communicating. Anushka also shares the importance of good communication that is inclusive for people with disabilities. Additionally, Vivian Tisi, a speech language pathologist who works with babies and local middle schoolers on communicating, offers her expert advice on the subject. We hope you enjoy our video.
Hi, my name is Anushka and I'm a member of Magical Bridge's Teen Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Board. For me, communication means that everyone understands and is included in community discussions. No matter how many forms of communication need to be used, it's important that everyone is included and is able to share their thoughts and opinions. Communication goes both ways. Every individual needs to be able to both listen and understand and also voice their thoughts. There are so many forms of communication in the world, and when we are interacting with someone, it's important that we all try to make sure that we are communicating in a way that is comfortable for everyone. Whether that means speaking, writing, showing photos, or even just flashing a smile, communication comes in so many different forms that we all need to be conscious and deliberate in how we communicate.
What types of communication are there?
Hi, my name is Vivian Tisi, and I am a speech language pathologist. So really quickly, mainstream communication, this is something where the majority of people communicate this way. So I'm speaking, I'm using my oral mechanism to produce speech, and you are comprehending my message either through listening to this video or reading the closed captioning below. When somebody is not able to produce clear speech for people to understand them, they might have to communicate through alternate means. So some communicators might repair their communication breakdowns through gesturing. They might carry a notebook with them to jot down a message. They might use yes or no answers to let you know that you've misunderstood them and try it again. Other times you will see people communicate through pictures. They might be individual pictures that they might give you to show you what they want or need. Or they might have a board that has multiple pictures for them to point to, touch, to put sentences together. And you might see some high-tech communication devices where it's a computerized, either tablet, iPad, some sort of little computer that is mobile and portable for them to carry around, and it'll have a program for them to touch different buttons to produce sentences or have a keyboard on there to type out their different sentences. This is all known as AAC, or alternative and augmentative communication. It just means it's an alternate way of communicating.
What is life like for someone who has a hard time communicating through mainstream ways?
Hi, what is your name?
Morgan O'Malley.
Where do you go to school? Palo Alto High School. And what grade are you in?
12th.
We asked Morgan how communication at school is like.
How do you communicate to your teachers at school?
It's really hard that people will not understand me.
What barriers make it hard for someone to communicate?
One big barrier is that the community, us out here in the mainstream world, we're not well educated on how to be better listeners and support communication partners for people who are not mainstream speakers. And by knowing that these barriers exist, we can start thinking about how we can make our mainstream world a little bit more welcoming for people who communicate in different ways.
Here's an example of what you shouldn't do.
May I take your order?
Yes.
What would you like? Huh? I can't hear you. Can you speak up? I don't understand what you're saying. I just don't know what you want.
So what can you do? Hi, my name is Joshua and I'm part of Magical Bridge's Teen Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Board. The first thing I want to mention is that when communicating with someone, it's important not to create an unsafe or aggressive environment. As seen in the previous clip, all that does is cause the person you're communicating with anxiety. It's important to always keep the other person's way of communication in mind. For restaurants and stores, it's important to have visuals that can assist people on ordering food or shopping. When communicating, it's important to have a calm voice and remember that just because someone communicates differently doesn't mean you shouldn't treat them with respect. Now here's what you should do.
Welcome to Starbucks. May I take your order? Yes. What would you like? Oh, we have a picture for you to choose from. What would you like? A cookie. Okay, great. I will get that for you.
So what can we do at home to support communication? Now that more places are opening up, new policies are being enforced to remain safe from COVID-19. We need to make sure that communication policies are also enforced with the reopening, so that restaurants and businesses are including people with different abilities. As an individual, make sure that the communication format you're using is understood by everyone. If someone feels uncomfortable or unsure with a form of communication, try something else. Especially now that more interactions are digital, it's very important to check in on each other and make sure that everyone feels heard. We hope this video helped you understand how communication differs from person to person and how to be supportive and inclusive of different forms of communication. Thank you.
For more information, visit magicalbridge.org. And remember that over 70% of our communication is nonverbal. So if you aren't sure how to approach it, just use kindness and a smile, because sometimes that's all you need.
Thank you, Anushka, Joshua, and Morgan. And Mimi and Morgan, we're going to have to ask for your autographs after this for that great acting. Our third group is Ava B, Ava G, Bella K, and Cheryl.
Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl, a rising junior at Los Altos High School.
Hi everyone, my name is Bella Kitsianis or Isabella Kitsianis, and I'm an upcoming senior at Palo Alto High School.
Hey everyone, my name is Ava Gomez, and I'm a rising junior at St. Francis High School in Mountain View.
I am honored to have the privilege to begin this video about this new innovative way of teaching students at their developmental age instead of their chronological age, also known as active learning. I was introduced to Magical Bridge by my little brother, Mateo. He is 10 years old right now, and he's one of the most playful and energetic kids on the block.
Hi, I'm Mateo, and I have X-linked juvenile retinoschisis. I went to Magical Bridge because I thought it would be a safe playground to play around in, and it would be safe for my disease. X-linked juvenile retinoschisis is a disease where your eyes, your retina in your eyes has a glue that isn't very strong. Everyone has a glue, but it's stronger than normal, usually. Stronger than mine. And my glue isn't very strong. So if let's say a basketball hits me in the head, this is why I can't play basketball. Or soccer, let's say, or anything that can hit me in the head, then the glue isn't very strong, so it'll pop. And then I'll have a retinal detachment. And then I'll have to lay my head downwards for 22 hours a day for a whole month. So I'll only get 2 hours outside. And that would be bad. So the Magical Bridge playground is a place where I could maybe be able to play things with other people and have a good time. Thank you. Bye.
I've always been so inspired about how he handles everything, especially since rarely any school sports teams or PE classes accommodate his needs. And I've always wondered what I can do to help this often overlooked community.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to join the Magical Bridge Foundation is because I'm in the Best Buddies Club, and that's a club where you get paired with a student in the special education department, and you you are their friend, you're their mentor, you're their guide to high school. But while I was in that club, I felt like I wasn't doing enough to interact and help my fellow students with disabilities. So I applied to the Magical Bridge Foundation. It was more about making people of all abilities feel welcome in anything they do. I think that's incredibly important. And also, as someone who has a learning ability, it was incredibly hard for me to advocate for myself when it came to extra time or taking a test in a different environment. I always thought that I was asking for too much or I was a burden on my teachers. So even though I have this learning disability, I'm able to speak for myself and advocate for myself. And I wanted to use that privilege to advocate for those who can and are unable to speak for themselves.
I first got involved with Magical Bridge through my affiliation with the National Charity League. So over the last few months, my team and I have been closely working together to learn all about the potential benefits and possibilities of active learning. And I'm super hopeful that this often overlooked community can finally get adequate attention in the education system.
Together, the three of us have teamed up with Alenka Villarreal, the founder of Magical Bridge,
as well as Sarah Lundgren and Lisa Shannon, who have taught us the ins and outs of active learning so that we can share this wonderful information with you all and how it can improve the lives of everyone.
Hi, I'm Alenka Villarreal. I'm the CEO and the founder of the Magical Bridge Foundation. I'm particularly excited for you to join us on this journey as we explore what active learning means, specifically for members of our school communities that present very differently cognitively than they do physically. Children like my own Ava, who is a rising senior at Palo Alto High School, but developmentally hovers more in the preschool or kindergarten age groups. So for those learners, we invite the schools, the districts to consider teaching them at their developmental level. Many times Ava is found in situations where she is doing things that are not meaningful to her, delivering mail, taking orders for lunch services. That is more passive learning, and she may or may not realize why she's doing that. If she were to go back to the developmental level where she is and what's meaningful to her, perhaps parallel play, she would make advances, maybe slower than others, but indeed still make advances. And so as this is considered an innovative approach, personally, I feel like this would be a very impactful approach for all learners, but specifically those with disabilities, and specifically those that are most impacted with disabilities in our society, where they could learn really at their level. And wouldn't that be a magical way to approach education? Enjoy. Thank you.
As you will see, the possibilities of active learning are seemingly endless, as this approach is helpful for disabled individuals with unmatched developmental ages, as well as patients with Alzheimer's.
If schools could place more emphasis on developmental age than chronological age, teens like Ava and Dean will be able to learn at their own pace. While they may take more time to learn and progress than other students, progress is still progress.
It is up to the community and educators to work together to put these models and ideas to use for the benefit of everyone. It is important to recognize that disabilities are not what disables the individual. It is the lack of the right accommodations that disable and limit the individual. We have made a series of 6 videos, including this one, describing and discussing the intricacies of active learning, including a step-by-step of every session that we took under the incredible guidance of Sarah Lundgren and Lisa Shannon. We hope that we continue your interest and that you're able to watch these videos. We look forward to a post-COVID-19 time where we can apply what we've learned about active learning and visit teens in our community and bring a bit more magic into everyone's lives.
Since we have not yet had the opportunity to spend time practicing active learning concepts in the developmentally young, we observed videos of both Alenka's daughter Ava and Sarah Lundgren's son Dean, who is 20 years old chronologically. We were introduced to active learning by Sarah, who has a personal connection to this kind of work through her son, and Lisa Shannon, an occupational therapist who also works with the developmentally young. Together, their expertise gave us an incredible introduction to the potentials of active learning, and we look forward to our future steps to make active learning opportunities available in all schools for all kids. So thank you so much to Lisa and Sarah. It is our privilege to contribute what we can to an often overlooked community during a time like now.
We hope that you enjoy and have a magical day.
Thank you. So we will be putting up a blog article that includes all 6 of our videos. So the other 5 will go a lot more in depth about what we learned during each of our training sessions. So definitely look for that on the Magical Bridge website. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ava V, Ava G, Bella K, and Cheryl. We also want to say a big thank you to our ASL interpreter, Mark Medina, and our amazing tech video and host, Deborah Vick. We hope that you have enjoyed this screening and found the hard work and advocacy of our Teen DEI board to inspire you and bring considerations of how to become a more inclusive in our thinking with our families and friends and in our own community of Palo Alto and beyond.
We hope to also continue this really important mission to involve teens with diverse abilities and disabilities to continue to learn and advocate as teen leaders for the diversity, equity, and inclusion of disabled community members. Future considerations of topics can include the impact of the intersection of race and disability, informing of currently socially accepted ableism, microaggressions to the disabled community, celebrating strengths of the neurodiversity, continued topics of access barriers to the disabled community, and so much more.
So at this point, we would like to open this to questions from those of us visiting us today. To just also reiterate, we are recording this and we will be able to share this on Facebook. I believe it's going on Facebook Live right now, but for your viewing.
No, it's still on live.
Okay, yeah, so we are recording, but we really would love to open it. So Deborah, do you want to explain how folks can ask questions or if they can ask them live?
They can ask live. There doesn't appear to be any questions in the Q&A section. So people can do a raise their hands, or they could put in the question chat area.
Okay. So if you do have a question, please do raise your hand or put a question in the Q&A. But I think we're seeing someone raising their hand already. So why don't we get them going?
The hand is. It's hard for me.
And I should also just say that, congratulations, teens. You really did an amazing job. We are so proud of you. And we know you worked so hard. So I just want to thank you all. This has been a huge commitment on everyone's behalf, including your parents and families. So we thank you, and we know the world is going to be a lot better because you are in it, and you're going to be our future leaders. So thank you.
And there was, before we go to Stephen, I just want to mention, somebody mentioned about being self-advocates for people themselves in terms of getting the extra time for tests and things like that. And I know that it's so hard to do. So I really commend you on that, because I know it's hard to be a self-advocate for yourself, especially when you're a teenager. So that's awesome. But Stephen Lee has a question, so I'm going to allow him to talk. Okay, you're unmuted, sir.
Hi, this is Stephen Lee. Before I ask my question, I just wanted to thank Magical Bridge and all of the teams involved in the DIA program. You all continue to do amazing and magical things for our community, and ensuring that it's even more inclusive and accepting and magical for people of all abilities in our community. As a city commissioner, you inspire me and my colleagues to do even better to ensure that our community is welcoming and inclusive and protective of all members. So Keep up the great work and continue to inspire us, our community, and all of the institutions therein to be even more inclusive. My question is this. What did you enjoy the most about the DEI program, and what will you take with you and continue to do in the future?
All right, teens, this is your chance to answer that question. Who would like to answer? We'd like to hear from a few of you.
Talk.
Yeah, unmute yourself and speak.
I'll speak. What I really enjoyed from the program would have to be like the interactions with everybody, and then like actually learning more about you know, disabilities and how to really help people. And then what I'll take away from this is, you know, as you saw in my video, communicating. And as you saw in Kelvin's video, you know, don't just turn away because someone's different, right? Like, you know, feel free to reach out to them and like attempt to communicate and that kind of stuff.
I agree with Joshua, and I feel like being part of this program gave me the opportunity to learn about so many different types of disabilities that I didn't know existed. And I think it's made me, not only me, more open-minded and like more considerate of what other people might be thinking or experiencing, but also it's made me more educated. So now I feel like I can bring it to my friends and my family and other people so that we can all be more aware.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with what Nicole just said. Definitely, you know, my favorite thing was I think if we're seeing any type of theme in the world right now was that knowledge is power. So I really did learn a lot about the disabled community, whether that's, you know, what type of diction to use properly so that I'm, you know, more educated in that field, as well as other opportunities for how I can really be a leader in that in this community and advocate for others. So I'm definitely really looking forward to continuing this project with active learning so that we can get this implemented in the United States in all schools for everyone so that everyone can reap these benefits.
Is there any other teen that wants to share anything? Okay. Commissioner Lee, do you have any other questions for our group or any other comments?
I guess the only other question I would ask is, you know, what can our city government and school board do to make Palo Alto just a little bit more inclusive and welcoming for people of all abilities?
Including parents and families and developing the programs for their kids in terms of developing the education programs, listening to the families and working with them to see what they need to be able to be successful. Sorry, I didn't somebody else's answer there, but
Olenka, would you like to add something since you were the one spark for this? Because I think this is I think it's important for our city leaders to hear from your voice as well.
Quickly, and I don't want to take away from the teens because they have as many wonderful ideas as I could share, but my personal view is that what we heard today is just a sampling of the many ways we can touch upon improving. Chauncey's powerful remarks about how the Best Buddies program can be much more than just a place you get free snacks and you chat with your friends. I think that it's a wonderful already a group in place that could be further expanded to be really what it's meant to be, which is a friendship for those with and without disabilities. Of course, this team of the active learning team, personally, that's an opportunity to sort of expand our thinking of how we are teaching those that are truly very diverse developmentally and cognitively, honoring people's learning styles and preferences and where they are in their developmental ages. So we invite, I think this is a wonderful beginning of conversation. I love that we have such a representation around the Bay Area schools here. And I think we've got our built-in leadership team for expanding the conversation and taking it in every school that we are representing here. There's some great ideas and suggestions already being heard.
And Commissioner Lee, just on behalf of our foundation, we know and we recognize that you and the commissioners were instrumental in awarding us this grant so we could put this program on. So we do want to thank you publicly.
If I could just add one more thing also. So in me, Bella, and Chauncey's blog, we talk a little bit about, so we had an interview with a student at Pali, and we talked about how coronavirus and the shelter in place has affected how we learn. And so one like opportunity, or I guess silver lining that is created is online learning, because a lot of students actually prefer it. Especially students with different learning styles. One student that we talked to, he said that he feels more comfortable doing online learning. He feels like he can get more done. It's easier for him to focus. And so I think during this time period, we've been able to kind of optimize online learning systems. And so hopefully we can implement that as another option in the future, even when we're not in shelter in place.
Yeah, I really agree with what Nicole just said. And also just thinking about how, as we're like starting to reopen businesses and kind of return to a normal life after COVID-19, I think it's really important to consider, like we said in our video, like along with all the policies that are coming out, that like restaurant owners need to wear masks and need to serve with like hand sanitizer and gloves. We also need to think about how the disabled community will be affected by these changes. For example, if everyone's wearing a mask, someone who relies on lip syncing may not be able to communicate as well as they would have in the past. So I think just keeping in mind the variety of abilities that we have in our community is really important to consider in the upcoming months.
Thank you.
Jill, there's a question about in the question box about the Best Buddies Club, about starting that in a middle school community, from Stephanie. I'm gonna mess up the name, but I'm sorry. Said Matt.
Stephanie Sedemeyer.
Thank you. And then there's another person in the chat room.
Okay, we'll ask that in a moment. So how would somebody set up does anyone know how to set up a Best Buddies program in the middle schools, or maybe at an elementary school? Is anyone aware of that? No?
I mean, if it's like I don't know how your middle school is like compared to JLS, but I know at JLS, if a teacher like wants to start a club and they get a group of kids to do it, they can like fill out some forms and they have a club they can start. I don't know what the Best Buddies Club is, or like not exactly, but I think that if you have an idea of what you can do, you can just make a club, and that's basically it.
Yeah, kind of jumping off of Josh's point, I believe that the Best Buddy organization is a nonprofit organization that is internationally known. And you can, if you want to create a Best Buddies club, I'm sure that there's a way, probably going onto the Best Buddies Greater website, and to get the resources needed to start that club, because, anyone can create a club. If you want to create a club that, follows the Best Buddy nonprofits guidelines, you can do that. But if you want to make your own mix on it, you want to put your own school's, preferences and mix it up in your club, I think that you can do that. But I know that the Best Buddies organization is a greater organization that works with schools all across the world.
We want to make sure that we're answering all the questions. If you have a question, can you please put it in the Q&A section? There's a little panel at the bottom with a Q&A. If anyone would else like to speak, is there an Anthony Kavlo that wants to speak? We're going to unmute you.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay.
First off, thank you all for putting this together. It was awesome. You did a great job. But my question is just, so I oversee a teen advisory board for Redwood City. And is there a way my teens can specifically partner or work together with the advocacy board to just kind of continue to bring more awareness to our city, or just do more, or have them come out and speak? Is there a way that can happen?
So Anthony, that is actually a great question. For us to continue this kind of program, or to bring this type of program to other schools, we do need funding for that. So this has been a pilot program. With that said, if you wanted to look at running a program yourselves, not through Magical Bridge Foundation, or if you wanted to have us help you manage that, we can certainly speak to you, and we could have some of our teens come and present to you. The ones that are not leaving for school, we have a few that are going to be leaving us onto university, but we can certainly speak with you about doing this within your school or having Magical Bridge lead this. And we should say we would love to keep continuing to have this continued in such a deep and rich way. But again, that does take funding for us, and we are a small but mighty foundation, but we want to be able to have professional staff manage this.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there a way I can get your email so I can contact you?
Absolutely. Jill@magicalbridge.org.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we certainly, of course, would love to be able to bring this to all the communities that we're building a Magical Bridge playground in and beyond. This is a very unique program, and I can tell you that it will make our community a lot more welcoming and just a lot more sensitive and embracing those of all abilities. And that's so important. It's needed now more today than ever. So we are just, again, so grateful that we were able to do this and to showcase this. It looks like there's another question. I think this one.
There's one in here that I think is an important question about what can school boards do to Palo Alto to make a more inclusive and welcoming place for people of all abilities. I think that's a very important question, just as knowing what I went through in school. And I know there's a couple other people here who've been through things too. So if the teens want to talk about that, or the adults, or I mean, if you don't need it, but I think that's a good question to address.
Teens, you have some of the school board members' ears right now. What very specifically could they do to make the schools more inclusive for all of our students? Does anyone want to take that on? Don't be shy.
Well, I think that's something that could definitely be, immediately addressed, just since we're really reshaping and having to modify the way that education works for everyone, meaning maybe it's a potential hybrid program or virtual learning options and opportunities like that. I definitely think that, different approaches to learning that really include and definitely, target students with disabilities, such as the active learning program that we talked about. So I definitely think that there's a lot of ways that you can implement ideas like that as you're reshaping education specifically.
Anyone else want to add anything to that before we move on?
Okay. Vivian, you had something you wanted to, you said that there was a question we hadn't answered before. Or did I miss something? I'm trying to look at the questions and read the chat. There was some question that was said that we didn't address one of Dr. Austin's questions. So I'm trying to figure out what that question was we didn't answer.
I think we have a question from Superintendent Donald Austin.
Okay.
And he'd like to know more about the good parts of online learning. What should we keep as a best practice?
I just want to address this really fast. This is a great question, but I think that while we are, looking for the good parts of online learning and trying to see what we can continue on into the future, while we are, implementing these new educational practices, I think that it's really important to also think about what we can do better. I have spoken to Alinka about this previously, and there have been some questions raised about if the online learning is very effective in terms of including people and students of differing abilities. And so I know that, students potentially like Ava, Alinka's daughter, who are on a different developmental stage, aren't necessarily given the opportunities to engage properly in online learning along with their fellow classmates. So I think that, as well as looking forward into the future with continuing about the good parts of online learning, we also need to take a step back and also kind of rethink about what we can do better, as well as address some of the issues that have been put into place with the online learning in terms of inclusivity.
And thank you, Bella, for that. And I want to respect the time and the importance of the question Dr. Austin posed. And with Dr. Austin's permission, I'd like to sort of get a little bit more of a thoughtful assemblance of answers for him, and we'll happily email you some thoughts, so it's a more thoughtful and meaningful answer to your question. And we do appreciate it.
Are there any more folks that want to ask anything online, live, or through the Q&A? I think we've answered everything through Q&A already. Okay. So then I think we are going to...
One question just popped up. Oh, I'm not muted, okay. One more question popped up from a Kimberly Lee, which says, what has your experience with inclusion been in school, and what is your personal definition of inclusion? Is this particularly to somebody, or is this to the group, all the teams as a whole? It's just anyone.
Would anyone like to answer what inclusion means to them?
I can start. So for me, I went to a public school until high school, and there I saw I had a lot more kids with different abilities in my community, which made it so much easier to include them and sit at the lunch table. But for me, inclusion then really meant treating everyone the same, and like saying hi in the hallways to whoever I saw. But this was also in middle school. But in high school, when I shifted to a private school, I actually noticed that the number of kids with different abilities was way lower. There were like very few kids with visual disabilities. And so for that, I decided to spend more time at Magical Bridge and learn what I could about the differently abled community. And I ended up transitioning more to learning about the community and then interacting with them on the playground instead of in school. And on the playground, interacting with people with different abilities just means playing with them and chatting and talking with families. And it's more of a friendship-based interaction, I'd say. In school, I feel like interactions are more structured by the teacher. And so for me, inclusion means like coming from me, what can I do to include people? Or at least that's how it's transitioned for me into high school, going to a private school.
Would anyone else like to share what inclusion means to them at their school?
I think it's really interesting that Anushka brought that up, because I know Ava and I, we both went to St. Francis for our sophomore year, and we can definitely attest to that. We didn't have a single person with a visible disability. I think in our class we didn't have a Best Buddies program or anything like that. And I mean, you might have seen in the news, I don't know, St. Francis is definitely a little bit, they're getting criticized a lot for the amount of diversity right now. So I think it's really interesting that you bring that up, and I think it's really important, that we have to be aware and consider diversity and inclusion in everything, in our school systems, because it's very apparent when it's not there, and it creates a lot of systematic issues.
Okay. I think with respect to time, we are going to have to end this call and this presentation. But again, we want to thank you on behalf of Magical Bridge Foundation, our entire community. Teens, you have done a fantastic job. You should be incredibly proud of your hard work. And we can't wait to see what you are going to do in the future, because you are amazing, amazing people. So thank you. To everyone who joined us, we thank you as well. We know that we can't do our work without being surrounded by a phenomenal community of leaders, family members, organizations, schools. So we thank you. Again, we need to thank the Human Relation Commissioners from Palo Alto for giving us this and awarding us this grant, and for the staff of City of Palo Alto for your belief in us. We hope to continue to do wonderful and magical work. We cannot wait to be able to open the playground again. We have to wait for a while until it's safe, and we can really understand how to safely open the playground so that everyone will stay healthy. So we thank you, and Vivian, April, Deborah, Mark, thank you for making this possible today. So thank you.
There
Thank
has
you.
been a
Thank you.
question to unmute everybody for applause for the teens. I'm trying to not.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm not I'm not normal.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
Teens, we're going to unmute you in a second. And thank you.
If anybody knows how to do that.
We can unmute ourselves.
Tina. Everyone unmute themselves. Okay. All right, it's a wrap.
A round of applause.
Good job, guys.
Thank you, guys.